Hey guys, welcome back. How you doing? Jesus loves you. So this is my movie review for the movie Weapons. Amazing, phenomenal movie. The movie of the year. There's not going to be a better movie than this, horror-wise. That's my prediction. This will be the movie of the year. It's one of the best horror movies I've ever seen, especially most recent. Okay? Suspense, mystery. You're on the edge of your seat the whole time. I sometimes fall asleep in movies even when they're good. This one, I felt a moment where I was tired. I wanted to sleep. My body would not let me. My mind would not let me. I was so tuned in. You have no idea what's going to happen next. Honestly, you're trying to figure it out the whole time, and you can't figure out what is going to happen next. In the preview, they don't really give you much, right? Quick thing here. The movie's super deep, and I'm going to go into it, and I'm going to go into the biblical significance, the spiritual significance, right? There's a lot of symbolism. I saw it twice. I'm going to see it 3 times, okay? If you look behind me, this scene here in the frame, right, in the upper, I guess it would be left for you guys, frame, actually looks like the movie. And when you guys see the opening scenes, you'll know it. You'll know, you're going to see, right? The kids are running out like this with their arms like this, like that. And that's what I wanted to do through the halls of the movie theater. And in fact, I did that. My friend was probably embarrassed. And I saw an old boomer dad doing it too, and his daughters were laughing. You know, it's like a dad joke kind of thing. Like, I don't know, you see the movie and you want to start running like that because that's part of it. So guys, this movie is awesome. I suggest that you see it if you're a movie person, if you're a horror movie person. If you're not and you don't want to let that stuff in, fine, don't do it. But the movie is all about, and from here on out it's going to be spoilers, just warning you. You might want to see it first and then come back and watch this and see the significance. The movie is about witchcraft, Satanism, okay? Very important stuff biblically for us as Christians and believers to understand this stuff. It shows the power of witchcraft and how real it is. Okay, let's get it. All right, so right off the bat, they show the words weapons, and in the O, there's a triangle. Right there is a clue of what the movie is. Now, like I said, the trailer doesn't give you much, and you don't know it's about witchcraft until about halfway through, okay? Essentially, the story is you have all these children in one classroom. I believe it was like a 3rd grade classroom. 17 kids disappear. At 2:17 in the morning, they all run out of their houses and run into the darkness. And there's only one kid left in the classroom, and there's the teacher, and she's left. And so the parents are obviously angry. What happened? They're kind of blaming the teacher. And the movie shows the story in like 5 different people's perspectives. Okay, and you start with the teacher's perspective. It says her name, Justine, and it shows you. Then it shows you the next person involved in the story, and you get a little more context, a little more of the plot, a little more understanding what's going on in the next and the next until the last, and then you finally see what's happening. It's amazing story writing. The acting is absolutely phenomenal. The directing was really cool. Cinematography was awesome. Such a cool movie. Even on the second one through, I was pumped with adrenaline just watching it, right? And I even got a jump scare on the second one through. I didn't jump on the first. I usually don't fall for jump scares because I'm just, I guess, ready for anything in horror movies. It's pretty rare. I saw Annabelle. That gave me a jump. But other than that, I watched tons of horror movies and I never jump. This movie, I jumped on the second one through, which was weird because I already knew what was going to happen. But I think, in a way, I was paying attention to certain details and not others. And then, boom, it just caught me. And I was like, whoa. Right? So there's comic relief in the movie, which is cool. All right, so let me get into the details of the plot and how it connects to us as believers. Okay, so the movie opens up, like I said, with this weapons, and it has a triangle. Most people are not going to notice that. I probably didn't even notice it, the significance anyway, until after the movie was over. At the very end of the movie, there's a triangle in the credits. And the triangle gets bigger and bigger, slowly, slowly, slowly. And the credits are actually going up on the sides of the triangle, up and down. And then it basically ends like this. And then it says weapons, and it's like, brrr, and then in the circle there's another triangle. Okay, why the triangle? Well, anybody who knows about witchcraft understands that a triangle represents witchcraft, right? It represents the shapes, the physical, the control over the physical, the 5 elements, right? When you draw certain patterns, whether it's a triangle or a hexagram or a pentagram, right? There's things that you draw on the earth and the rituals that they do where they think they're controlling spirits, and they are able to connect with spirits, control them, make them do their bidding. And that's what this movie was about. Okay, here's the full spoiler. There's a witch in the movie who's doing this, who is controlling people's minds, and they become like weapons. She does this ritual where she takes a physical item from somebody, puts it in, puts blood, it's this whole thing, snaps it, they're complete mind controlled, and they go attack whoever physical item she put on this. That person who's being controlled will go, harm them, to unalive them at all costs. Okay, so the movie's all about witchcraft. Now, if you guys know the band Deftones, there's a song called Prayers and Triangles. And the song is all about, he says, I can't stop seeing triangles. It's controlling my mind. And he's talking about demons. Demons are controlling my mind. Please help me. It's a wild song if you look at the lyrics to that. And then in the chorus, he's saying prayers, prayers, triangles, triangles, prayers, prayers, triangles. This is it. The Bible tells me we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities. These are the two powers. You either have Satan in the triangle, or you have prayers to God. You have God and Satan. That's it. Okay? So that's what they were showing in the movie, I believe. Right? They did the research. They understand. They're showing us this stuff, and we can kind of see it. So now, in the opening, when the kids are like this behind me, into the darkness, right? Out of their house, out into the darkness, through the street lights like that, in suburbia, it's playing the song by George Harrison, Beware of Darkness. Really cool song the way they put it in there, because it's a dark song, but it's also hopeful. It gives you a strange feeling when you're listening to it. It's because it's almost like the kids are free. You don't know where they're going, and are they running away from home, from abusive situations, and they're getting freedom, But they're giving you a clue there, beware of darkness. The movie is about witchcraft, Satanism, darkness. And I believe that the director and the people who wrote it are saying, beware of this thing. This thing is real. And that's what the movie was really powerful in showing, okay? Most people don't give any credit to witches, to witchcraft, to Satanism. They think it's all nonsense, okay? And a lot of Christians think this, which is really baffling to me, because if you read the Bible, you would understand that this stuff is real. It's real power. We're wrestling with this power. But it was great to see this full-packed stadium or movie theater, right? Because it was sold out. And I was all the way in the back. And I'm saying, and these are normal people, let's say. I don't know them, but let's just say, most people don't know this stuff, aren't thinking about this on a daily basis. And they're watching this powerful display of the power of witchcraft and what it can do to control the mind, okay? And you could hear a pin drop. Everybody was just silent, glued onto this thing. What is going to happen next? What is this about? What is this? These people are just, when they're in the mind control, they're like this. Like you've seen Beyonce and Jay-Z videos of them, and, right? Eminem. And have you guys seen those videos? Check those out, right? Katy Perry, Britney Spears, right? These celebrities get in these trances, and they're like, and there's newscasters, and then, I was in a trance, We know that the elite, if you guys look into this stuff, they use people as human slaves, and they put them under mind control. And sometimes they're used as assassins, hence the name weapons. Okay? Right? We know this stuff with MK Ultra, all this stuff. They use people to do that, right? Look into John Lennon's thing, look into JFK. Right? They show a color. It's under MK Ultra mind control, which sometimes is done when people are children, but sometimes soldiers get it done. There's the military's involved, etc. So they can show you a sound, a certain song, a certain color, right? And it will switch you into that other personality, and you're trained by the handler who knows your trigger, or whoever trained you up to be an assassin, to be a killer. People are loading guns, speaking in languages they don't understand, and they're completely amnesiac. They don't remember any of it. Once they flip into that other personality in these cases, right, these more extreme cases of what they call dissociative identity disorder, right, which, how do they produce DID, which used to be called multiple personalities? They produce it by rituals, okay, by severe trauma that breaks the psyche into different parts. And then the people involved who are involved in the trauma, right, they know the triggers, and they use that person. And that's what's going on in the higher upper levels. And I believe this movie is exposing that to some degree. There's a thing at the end here that I might get into, which is really deep, I'm pretty sure it went over pretty much everybody's head. I'm sure there's probably somebody who will see it. I'm going to watch it a third time to see if I see it again. I'm going to get to that at the end, and it's pretty controversial. All right, so this movie is also connected to the movie Longlegs and the movie Harvest, which are both about satanic rituals. Okay, and also you could say the movie Bring Her Back, which are all about satanic rituals, witchcraft, and what happens in them. Weapons and Longlegs were very similar in that the satanic personality, looked the same, had same vibes, talked the same, said the same kind of stuff, right? You have Nicolas Cage in Longlegs, who plays a Satanist, who uses witchcraft. They both are using the same powers to control people to such a degree that their own will is gone, and they're just completely like a parasitical thing is controlling their mind and their body. Now, in the movie, you saw that they call it foreshadowing. They do it in books and they do it in movies where they'll tell you the story, the end of it, through dialogue, where you usually don't catch it until you watch it a few times. When I made my movie Too Fresh, I did that as well, right? My movie was about a guy who on Monday felt like he was the man, and he's portrayed as like a Superfly guy who was played by my friend Greg Strong. Walking down the street, girls are just falling. Oh my gosh, there's a girl with a baby. She's holding the baby, and then she sees him. She drops the baby, and she starts sucking her thumb. Right, and they're just like, and he's just a man, and he's helping this kid who just got bullied, and everybody loves him. Then on Tuesday, he comes in, and he's depressed, and it's the same guy, but it's filmed in two different people, two different actors. My friend Greg and my friend Pete. So on that day, I was filming it with like 70s, blaxploitation music. And then on Tuesday, it's filmed in black and white, and it's depressing, and he goes through the same path, he meets the same people, but because of his own internal feeling of himself, people don't like him, they don't respond to him, they ignore him, the same people as yesterday, right? So the idea was, we all have bad days, and the world reacts to us as we feel we are, right? I think, therefore I am. That's what I started the movie with, that quote from Descartes. Chino Moreno from Deftones said, "If you think you're the whether you think you're the or you are either way you're right." Right? Whatever you think, that's what you are. Anyway, I'm not necessarily. I made this movie in college, so I'm not like in that same mind frame. It was just something I was thinking about at the time. So in that movie, I was going to call it. It's called Too Fresh, but I was going to call it the superhero complex, because it was the idea that superheroes have this as well, right? You have Clark Kent, you have Superman, you have those two personalities, those two things. You have Peter Parker and Spider-Man. So I had these two kids arguing who would win in a fight, Peter Parker or Spider-Man, and the other guy goes, "Dude, that's the same person, blah, 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 blah. What about Clark Kent, Superman? What are you talking about, dude?" Like, so that was a foreshadowing in the beginning of the movie to tell you actually what it's telling you the plot. Most people are never going to pick up on it, right? But then when you watch it again, you're like, oh, cool, that was there. So that's just a technique of filmmaking and writing. And I saw that in this movie because in the movie, you had the idea of a parasite being talked. So there's a scene where the gay couple is watching TV, and they're talking about this ant who eats this certain kind of plant. And then once they eat the plant, they become paralyzed. And the plant actually grows through their head. At least that's what it seemed to be in the movie was saying. It was like a National Geographic type thing. And it said it has complete control over its mind and its body, right? So that was the idea, that the witch, who was the ant in the movie, Aunt Mavis, she had complete control over the children, over the people that she was in contact with, right? And also, when the teacher was in the classroom, there's a scene where she is talking about parasites, and she asks the children, what is an example of parasite? And one of the kids says, a tapeworm. And she says, that's right. A tapeworm lives off your body, right? The food that you're eating. It's a complete parasitical thing. So that was foreshadowing the witchcraft that was happening. Now, in witchcraft, you need personal items. They showed that in the movie, right? Aunt Mavis told the boy, get a personal item from every single one of your classmates, bring it to me. We're going to do a ritual. And she was doing that so that she could get health, right? She starts with his parents, mind controls them. Supposedly, somehow that's going to give her health back. That doesn't work. She goes to the 17 kids in his class, right? That's another thing about Satanism. Satanism is all about ultimate and extreme selfishness. It's the opposite of what God teaches, the opposite of Christianity. Christianity is all about complete unselfishness, complete selflessness for you, thinking of you. Jesus is the biggest example. He actually gave his life, right? And that's what Jesus says. A friend will give his life if he really loves. He'll even lay down his own life for his brothers. So it's the very exact opposite of what Satanism is, which is just complete self-indulgence, ultimate pleasures at the expense of others, okay? And you see this in the movie. You'll also see this with serial killers, with sociopaths. For example, you know, she does this spell. This guy is killing the other guys all because of her. She essentially created a murder. Somehow she has her own blood, and she's like, you know, couldn't care less about what's going on. But, you know, or like, you got blood on my shirt. When you're like, you know, when they're, you've probably seen that in movies, right? How dare you? You got blood on my, you know? That's ultimate selfishness. It comes in sociopaths, in Satanism, right? So these spells are all about, you need personal items. This is 101 of witchcraft. So if you're having problems in your house, get rid of things that people have given you, right? Get it out of the house. Don't second guess it. If you're not sure, get it out temporarily. If you're having any kind of demonic experience, things like that. Like I was saying, Aunt Mavis and Nicolas Cage, they had similar vibes, right? They had super white skin. They seem nice, but there's something behind what they're doing. They're not to be trusted. A lot of people do not, they trust people too much. Serial killers, how do they get their victims? They trust them. They have to let them in the house. Same thing with witchcraft. They have to get something from you. They have to get close enough to you. Same thing with vampires in the mythology of vampires. There's truth to this. The vampires don't come into your house unless you invite them in. Right? How about Satan? He can tempt us all we want, but we have to give in. We have free will. God has given us that choice. Now he can overpower us. There's all kinds of things where he can kind of really bring us in, where we're essentially powerless. Paul says that in the Bible, in Romans 7. He says, I do what I don't even want to do. I don't even want to do this, but it's the sin that lives in me. It has a life of its own, right? So I believe we should trust our gut. If we think something is off, it probably is off. We're taught in society to go against our intuition. That can be the Holy Spirit telling us. They call it the gut, really. It's your intuition or the Holy Spirit. But people teach us, especially when it comes to spiritual warfare, spiritually discerned things. That's how you're going to discern it, through that. Also through dreams sometimes. Through intuition, through seeing things, through happenstance. Well, these two things are lining up. Maybe that's the universe or God telling me that I should do this thing. Doors are opening. Okay, maybe I should go in that direction. Doors are closing here. That seems to be not the direction God wants me to go. We're constantly praying for God's will as believers. Well, how do we know what God's will is? That's, for me, one thing that works. I pray for God's will. He doesn't usually tell me, Mark, go do this now. And if that does happen and I hear it, I better question that and not think, well, God told me. So many bad things have happened because of that. You cannot think just because you heard something in your mind, or thought something rather, that's necessarily God's will, right? I've never heard an audible voice. I don't hear voices, right? Some people do, right? Sometimes that's a mental illness. Sometimes they think it's God. We should be careful with this stuff. I don't think that's the best way to hear from God. I believe we pray, we listen. We can hear things. We can write them down. We can check them. We should check them with others if we feel like God told us to do something. But another way for me is, hey, Lord, what do I do about this job that I want to take, or this life decision? What do you think I should do? Well, I ask and I'm open, and then I wait throughout the day and I just live my life and things happen. I may get answers through songs, through people. If I start seeing doors open, I go in that direction. If doors close, okay, maybe God doesn't want me to do that, right? So that's one thing I was thinking about. And let me see what else here, guys. I have a lot of notes on this. And my second ride through, I just brought my phone and literally just took notes the whole time. My friend was probably pissed off because it was like bright. Luckily, we're sitting in the back. All right, guys. So talking about the Longlegs movie and this one, the satanic characters and the witchcraft. Okay, because Satanism and witchcraft is connected, okay? It's essentially the same thing, okay? If you're doing witchcraft, you're working with Satan and the demons. right? So they can be used interchangeably to understand. People may not even know what they're dealing with, but that's what it is. So those are two examples of what a Satanist looks like. Okay, Rosemary's Baby, another movie of what Satanists look and act like. Yeah, they're the nice lady. They're not the people you're thinking. They're not like the metalhead, you know what I'm saying? They may or may not be Satanists. But the high-level Satanists and the Luciferians, which is the highest level, okay, they're like upstanding citizens. They're your doctors, they're your lawyers, they're your nice old lady with the wig, right? But there's just something off. And they'll say things that they know they're supposed to say in society to get you to trust them. But if you catch it, that you can tell they're using it as manipulation to try to just gain your trust, but they're really after something else. And these are all intuitive things that we should pay attention to and understand. Okay, I'm going to give you another real-life example. The McMartin preschool case was the first case in the 80s of satanic ritual abuse in a preschool. Then there were many others in the 80s. They call it the satanic panic. No, it was really that there were these cases coming out. The children were talking about it. They covered it up by saying it was a panic, a moral panic. They actually created a new term called a moral panic. Do you know what that is? The only reason you would know that is if you looked into this and understood, because that term didn't exist. That concept didn't exist before this. Because it doesn't exist. There's no such thing as moral panics. These things happen and they try to cover it up, right? So look up the McMartin preschool case, which was the first one in California. Look at Peggy McMartin, Virginia McMartin, and Ray Bucky. These were the people who were involved, who they said were Satanists. And they were doing all these kind of rituals. Okay, guys, just honestly, just Google these, okay? Just Google Bucky Parents McMartin. And tell me she ain't a Satanist. I mean, for me, sometimes it's like, what else do I need to do? I mean, guys, come on. I don't know. Somebody watching this movie might be like, what? She's a sweet old lady. Oh, yeah, real sweet. Looks real sweet. Yes, she's an old lady. She has, colored hair. And does she look sweet to you? Don't know about you guys, but to me, it's pretty obvious, right? There's a certain vibe. You can get vibes. You can understand vibes. There was another couple. Let me show you their picture real quick if I can find it. Okay, yeah, the other couple was the Oak Hill situation. Okay, so this is the other couple. Tell me, what do you see? Do these people look like they might be satanic? What do you think? If I was going to direct a horror movie, I would have these two. You know what I'm saying? Now, you guys might think I'm being judgmental. Hey, God tells us to use our discernment, man. What do you think? Would you trust those people? I wouldn't. And I'm not afraid to act on that. I would rather act on that and be safe than be rude, right? That was in the movie. The woman starts talking to her grandson. He tries to wake his father up out of the trance by throwing water at him, and she says, "Don't be rude," right? Now that goes into the mind conditioning. Oh, I don't want to be rude. God forbid I be rude. And then you're literally having a serial killer in your home. Because you didn't want to be rude. This is stuff we need to wake up to, guys. This is how abuse thrives. This is how cults thrive. This is how this stuff goes on in society. You think, nobody knew. Oh, he was so nice. All these things always happen right under the noses. And people wonder, how can it happen? This is how it does it. It's subtle. We have to be willing to stand up for ourselves and say, no, I'm not. And that was a really cool thing when I was watching this movie. When she came into the gay couple's house and was like, I'm going to have a heart attack. I'm really exhausted. I just need some water. Can I come in the house and drink some water? I heard somebody in the theater going, no, leave, go. And I'm like, exactly. That's what I would be saying. Oh, you know what? My neighbor is right there if you'd like to ask them. For me, I don't trust you. I'm not going to tell them that, but I get this feeling. I'm not going to help you. Right? Oh, well, you're Christian. You got to help people. Wise as serpents. We deal not in flesh and blood. We have to be discerning, especially when it comes to our children, right? This is what I'm talking about, guys. So all these people in these cases, they all got off. Pretty much every single one of them. They all went to jail, a lot of them, because there was evidence against them, and yet they got off. Why? Because the elites run it, and they let them out. They're their buddies, as you can see what's going on right now in the world. All right, guys. So back to the movie. There's so much in this movie, I'm telling you. All right, so it was interesting also. I don't know if the director or the writer is Christian, but there's definitely a lot of Christian, well, at least spiritual warfare ideas. One thing I noticed, there was an addict in the movie, and he was sort of the comic relief. You'll hear people in the theater laughing when he comes on, right? The movie's super heavy, it's super dark, there's a lot of violence and stuff. It even touches on police brutality, right? Touchy subjects in society that bring up a lot of feelings for people. When the addict guy came on, he was kind of he was funny. He was saying funny stuff, doing funny stuff, right? And you hear the people kind of, the tension is lifting through the comic relief of this character. Now, I thought it was interesting how there's a scene where when he becomes a zombie, the Josh Brolin's character keeps hitting him, and he kind of goes out, and then he gets up again, and go to attack him. So I decided to count how many times he got up, just because I was like, hey,